Have you noticed how the people who dismissed you suddenly feel uneasy? This video reached you because the balance is flipping right now. What stayed stuck is turning, roles are switching, and outcomes are correcting themselves. If recent moments felt oddly quiet yet heavy, that's the signal. Stay with this. What's reversing may shock even you. Reversals rarely announce themselves because their power depends on contrast. If you knew exactly when things would flip, the impact would be diluted. Real change happens quietly, often while everything looks the same on the surface. That's why right before a reversal, life can feel almost boring or uneventful. Nothing dramatic is happening, yet something feels slightly off, like the air before a storm that no one else seems to notice. Most people expect change to come with noise, signs, or obvious signals, but in reality, reversals build in silence. Decisions are being made behind the scenes. Attitudes are shifting internally. Circumstances are rearranging themselves without asking for permission. This is why people are often shocked when outcomes suddenly change. They confuse lack of visible movement with lack of progress, not realizing momentum has been accumulating the entire time. Think about moments in history, careers, or even personal relationships. The biggest shifts didn't happen during arguments or announcements. They happened after long periods of being underestimated, ignored, or overlooked. One day, the same people who felt secure in their position realized they were no longer in control, not because someone fought them, but because the foundation they relied on quietly weakened. For chosen ones, this phase can feel confusing. You may wonder why things aren't moving faster or why recognition hasn't arrived yet. But this pause isn't denial, it's positioning. While others grow comfortable, patterns are changing in your favor. The lack of warning isn't a flaw in the process, it's the reason the reversal works. By the time it becomes visible, it's already decided. That's why reversals feel shocking, not because they are sudden, but because most people weren't paying attention to what was happening beneath the surface. There is a phase where it looks like nothing is happening, and that can be the most uncomfortable part. Days feel repetitive, progress seems stalled, you might even question whether you're moving backward. But this is often the exact point where the biggest internal shifts are taking place. What changes first isn't the situation, it's the structure underneath it. Visible movement is not the same as real movement. External change usually comes last. Before that, perspectives shift, priorities reorder, and invisible pressure starts building. This is why chosen ones often feel suspended in time. You're not being held back, you're being recalibrated. Old reactions lose their grip. Old fears stop driving decisions. Without noticing, you're becoming less dependent on outcomes and more grounded in certainty. Think of it like water heating on a stove. For a long time, it looks the same. No bubbles, no noise, then suddenly everything changes at once. The heat was working the entire time, you just couldn't see it. In this phase, patience isn't about waiting harder, it's about trusting that unseen momentum is real momentum. This is also why forcing action right now feels exhausting or pointless. The system is already shifting. Trying to rush it only creates resistance. When the reversal becomes visible, it won't feel like effort finally worked. It will feel like things simply clicked into place. If you're sensing stillness mixed with quiet anticipation, you're not stuck. You're inside the turning point, where everything is adjusting before it moves. Power rarely asks for approval when it moves. It doesn't send warnings or explain itself. One moment, someone appears firmly in control. The next, their influence starts slipping in small, almost unnoticeable ways. Decisions go around them. Their words carry less weight. What once worked effortlessly begins to stall. This is how power shifts, quietly, without confrontation. Most people think authority comes from titles, confidence, or loud presence. In reality, it comes from relevance and timing. When those change, power follows. You don't need to challenge anyone directly for this to happen. In fact, the strongest reversals occur when you stay focused on your own path while the environment adjusts around you. Control is lost when it's assumed, not when it's questioned. You may notice others reacting strangely during this phase. They interrupt more, they over-explain, they try to reassert themselves through small displays of dominance. These aren't signs of strength, they're signs of insecurity. When someone senses their position weakening, They often act before they understand why. For chosen ones, this shift can feel subtle but unmistakable. Conversations change, opportunities start coming to you instead of being blocked. You're consulted rather than overlooked. And the most important part is this: you didn't take anything from anyone. You simply remained steady while the balance moved. Power doesn't disappear, it transfers. And once it does, it doesn't ask permission to stay. When people doubt you for a long time, they grow comfortable in that belief. It becomes part of how they see the world. So when a reversal begins, they don't recognize it immediately, they feel it. Something in their certainty starts to crack. That's why their behavior shifts before their words do. They become unusually alert around you, even if they can't explain why. You might notice subtle signs. They ask questions they never cared to ask before. They watch your reactions more closely. They bring up the past, testing whether you're still in the same position they remember. This isn't curiosity, it's recalibration. Their internal map of where you stand no longer matches what they're sensing now. This discomfort comes from loss of predictability. When someone has underestimated you, your growth creates tension because it invalidates their earlier judgment. Admitting that out loud would mean admitting they were wrong, so instead, the unease shows up indirectly: awkward pauses, forced compliments, sudden interest, or quiet distance. What's important is how little you need to do during this phase. Explaining yourself isn't required. Proving anything is unnecessary. The shift they're sensing isn't about performance, it's about positioning. Your presence alone carries a different weight now. When doubt turns into unease, it's not because you changed overnight. It's because they can no longer ignore what's already changed. False confidence often looks convincing right up until it starts to fail. People who believe they're untouchable stop paying attention. They rely on old advantages, repeat the same strategies, and assume outcomes will always favor them. This is usually when cracks begin to form, not all at once, but through small errors that weren't there before. You may see them overcommit, speak too soon, or underestimate situations they once handled easily. Their certainty turns into carelessness. They dismiss details, ignore feedback, or double down when subtle adjustments are needed. What's happening isn't bad luck, it's complacency catching up. When someone's confidence is built on position rather than awareness, it weakens the moment conditions change. They don't adapt because they don't think they need to. That's why reversals often surprise the most confident people first. They confuse familiarity with stability and mistake past success for future security. For chosen ones, this contrast becomes clearer with time. While others repeat themselves, you evolve quietly. While they assume things will stay the same, you notice shifts early and adjust naturally. You're not competing, you're staying alert. The collapse of false confidence doesn't require confrontation. It happens through exposure. When reality changes, certainty that isn't grounded simply can't keep up. A true reversal doesn't just change outcomes, it flips perspectives. The people who once watched from a position of comfort suddenly feel exposed. The ones who judged now feel evaluated. This shift can be deeply unsettling because it removes the psychological distance they relied on to feel secure. When roles reverse, confusion sets in first. People question their assumptions, replay old interactions, and wonder when the balance changed. There's often a brief period where they try to act as if nothing is different, even though their behavior says otherwise. Laughter feels forced. Confidence sounds rehearsed. The ease they once had is gone. For chosen ones, this phase can feel strange in a different way. You may notice others projecting their anxiety onto you, reading into your words, or reacting to things you didn't even intend. That's because the dynamic has shifted. You're no longer operating from below their expectations, you've moved beyond them. The shock of a role reversal isn't about losing status, it's about losing certainty. And once certainty is gone, control follows. What's left is adjustment. Those who adapt regain balance. Those who resist reveal just how dependent they were on being above you in the first place. Silence is often misunderstood as absence, but in this phase, it's intentional. Being placed in silence isn't about being ignored, It's about being removed from noise. Without constant reactions, explanations, or defenses, your awareness sharpens. You begin to see patterns clearly, not emotionally. That clarity becomes your advantage. When you're not explaining yourself, you stop leaking energy. You notice who acts from fear, who moves from habit, and who only responds when control feels threatened. Silence turns into a filter. It shows you what matters without distortion. While others talk, you observe. While they react, you assess. This positioning also protects you. If you had been visible too early, the reversal would have attracted interference. Silence allows momentum to build without resistance. It creates space for timing to align without outside pressure trying to redirect it. Many chosen ones struggle here because silence feels like being forgotten, but it's the opposite. It's preparation, it's restraint, it's learning how to move without announcing every step. When the shift becomes public, you won't need to explain how you got there. Silence didn't slow your progress, it shaped it. There comes a point where effort stops being the deciding factor. Things begin to move on their own, almost as if a switch has been flipped. What once required constant pushing now responds with minimal input. This is when timing takes over. The system is no longer resisting you, it's cooperating. You may notice that opportunities appear without chasing. Conversations lead somewhere instead of stalling. Decisions that were delayed for months suddenly resolve themselves. This isn't coincidence. It's alignment replacing friction. When conditions are right, action becomes effective instead of exhausting. This phase can feel unfamiliar because you're used to struggle being part of progress. So when movement becomes smooth, the mind tries to interfere. It questions whether it's real or temporary, but ease isn't a trap, it's a signal that resistance has ended. The key here is restraint. Overexertion can disrupt flow. The reversal doesn't need force, it needs awareness. Small, well-timed actions now carry more weight than big emotional pushes ever did. When timing becomes unstoppable, you don't rush it, you move with it. That's how reversals lock in. At this stage, truth no longer needs your voice to survive. What was hidden starts revealing itself through inconsistencies, contradictions, and behavior that no longer aligns. People expose themselves by what they forget to maintain. Stories change, details don't match, patterns repeat. You don't have to point anything out, others begin noticing on their own. This is often surprising for chosen ones because there was a time when speaking up felt necessary, even urgent. But now, silence carries more weight than explanation ever did. When truth is strong enough, it stands without defense. The effort others put into maintaining appearances becomes the very thing that gives them away. You may see situations resolve themselves in unexpected ways. Questions arise that you never asked. Conclusions are reached that you never pushed for. This is not luck. It's the natural collapse of narratives that depended on control rather than reality. When pressure builds, what isn't solid breaks first. What matters most here is restraint. Intervening too early can interrupt exposure. Letting things unfold allows clarity to emerge cleanly. You're no longer responsible for being understood. When truth surfaces without you speaking, it confirms one thing clearly. The reversal is no longer personal, it's structural. One of the clearest signs that a reversal has arrived is emotional distance. Not numbness, not avoidance, but calm. You stop replaying conversations. You stop waiting for validation. The need to be seen or understood fades naturally. What replaces it is steadiness. This detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. When you're no longer emotionally attached to outcomes, decisions become cleaner. You act without second-guessing. You respond instead of reacting. Situations that once felt heavy now feel manageable, even neutral. Many chosen ones mistake this phase for losing passion. In truth, you're gaining control. Emotional intensity was tied to uncertainty. As certainty settles in, urgency dissolves. You no longer need signs or reassurance because your internal sense of direction is stable. You may also notice that external reactions affect you less. Praise doesn't inflate you. Criticism doesn't shake you. This balance signals that you've stepped into alignment with reality rather than expectation. When emotional detachment appears, it means the outcome is no longer in question. You're not waiting anymore, you're already standing where things have resolved. When attention shifts toward you, it often happens quietly. The people who once overlooked you don't announce their interest, they observe. You may notice them checking in without a clear reason, asking indirect questions, or finding excuses to stay informed about what you're doing. This isn't coincidence, it's monitoring. At this stage, your actions carry weight even when they're minimal. Silence becomes noticeable. Absence creates curiosity. Because you're no longer seeking approval, others start trying to read you instead. They watch for signals, reactions, or missteps that might help them understand where they stand. This change can feel subtle but persistent. Someone who never paid attention suddenly remembers details about you. Someone distant becomes unusually aware of your presence. These behaviors come from uncertainty. When people sense a shift they can't control, they gather information. What matters is consistency. You don't need to perform or explain. Staying grounded keeps the balance where it is. Observation without reaction preserves your position. When people start watching closely, it's not because you've become loud. It's because your silence now speaks. Long delays often end without explanation. One moment, everything feels stalled. The next, decisions start happening quickly, almost all at once. What used to require repeated effort suddenly moves forward without resistance. This is the point where excuses lose their power. You may notice people responding faster than before. Answers arrive without reminders. Situations that dragged on resolve themselves cleanly. This shift isn't caused by pressure, it happens because the conditions that allowed delay are no longer present. Once timing aligns, hesitation disappears. For chosen ones, this phase can feel surreal. After waiting quietly, momentum arrives without fanfare. There's no dramatic announcement, just movement. Doors open where walls used to be, and unlike before, you don't have to convince anyone of your worth. The important thing here is discernment. Not every opening needs to be rushed through. The reversal brings options, not obligations. Choosing calmly keeps you aligned with the direction that's already forming. When delays end, it's not because someone changed their mind. It's because the window finally opened and it won't close the same way again. When a reversal begins to show itself, discomfort is normal. Even when the outcome is in your favor, it can feel unfamiliar. You've adjusted to surviving, waiting, managing uncertainty. When circumstances improve, the mind doesn't immediately catch up. There's a brief mismatch between who you had to be and who you no longer need to be. This can show up as hesitation or self-checking. You may pause before stepping into opportunities that once felt impossible, not because you doubt yourself, but because your nervous system is still calibrated for restraint. Comfort with struggle doesn't disappear overnight, even when struggle is no longer required. There's also the adjustment of identity. You're no longer reacting from defense or proving yourself. That can feel empty at first. The absence of pressure creates space, and space can feel strange if you're used to tension. But this phase passes as stability becomes familiar. What helps most is patience with yourself. You don't need to rush confidence or force certainty. It will settle naturally as repetition replaces surprise. Each small confirmation helps align your internal state with your external reality. Discomfort doesn't mean the reversal is wrong. It means you're shedding an old version that learned to endure what you no longer have to carry. When a reversal becomes undeniable, fear doesn't always look dramatic. Often, it shows up as restraint, distance, or sudden politeness. The people who benefited from the old balance sense that it's no longer protecting them. What they're afraid of isn't you, it's exposure. It's the realization that the advantage they relied on is slipping away. This fear stays unspoken because admitting it would mean admitting loss of control. So instead, it hides behind neutral behavior. Conversations become careful. Words are chosen slowly. There's a quiet effort to avoid missteps, as if one wrong move could confirm what they're already feeling inside. You might notice hesitation where there used to be confidence, requests instead of demands, listening instead of dismissing. These shifts are subtle, but they reveal a deep awareness that the dynamic has changed. They're no longer certain how you'll respond, and that uncertainty creates anxiety. What's important is that this fear isn't your responsibility. You didn't create it by acting aggressively or seeking power. It emerged because the balance corrected itself. Staying grounded keeps the situation stable and prevents unnecessary conflict. When fear goes unspoken, it speaks through behavior, and once it appears, it confirms that the reversal is already recognized, even if it's never acknowledged aloud. Narratives don't change overnight. They shift quietly through small adjustments that add up over time. At first, people reinterpret events. Past moments are remembered differently. Choices that were once dismissed start being described as strategic. Your role is slowly reframed without any formal acknowledgement. You may notice others referencing your past with a different tone. Stories that once excluded you now include your influence. Credit is reassigned in subtle ways. This isn't flattery, it's correction. When reality shifts, the story must adjust to match it, or it stops making sense. What's interesting is that this change often happens without your involvement. You don't need to remind anyone of what you did or endured. The new narrative forms because it has to. The old version no longer fits the present circumstances. For chosen ones, this can feel validating yet strangely quiet. There's no apology, no announcement, just a steady shift in how you're spoken about and considered. Respect replaces dismissal without a conversation ever taking place. When the narrative changes in your favor, it means the reversal has settled in. Perception has caught up with reality, and it's not going back. A real reversal doesn't come with the urge to get even. That impulse fades as clarity takes its place. Revenge needs an audience and an emotional charge. Resolution doesn't. When things truly shift, the desire to prove, confront, or correct others quietly disappears. This is because resolution brings understanding. You see how events unfolded without taking them personally. What once felt intentional now looks inevitable. People acted from their limits, fears, or blind spots. Recognizing this doesn't excuse behavior, it releases you from carrying it forward. Unlike revenge, resolution doesn't require acknowledgement from others. There's no need for apologies or validation. Closure happens internally, and that's why it lasts. You stop replaying scenarios because they no longer hold emotional weight. The lesson is complete. For chosen ones, this distinction is important. Revenge keeps you tied to the old dynamic. Resolution moves you beyond it. One reacts to the past, the other positions you for what's next. Calm becomes your signal that the cycle has closed properly. When peace replaces the need for justice, it's not weakness, it's confirmation. The reversal didn't just change outcomes, it freed you from needing anything back. By the time you start looking for signs, you're often already inside the shift. The clearest indicators aren't dramatic events, they're internal. Your thoughts are calmer, decisions come faster, you trust your judgment without overthinking it. There's less hesitation, even when the stakes are higher. You may notice that situations resolve more cleanly now, conversations don't spiral, conflicts lose intensity quickly. What once drained you barely registers. This isn't detachment from life, it's alignment with it. You're responding from stability instead of reaction. Another sign is reduced urgency. You no longer feel pressure to chase outcomes or control timing. Waiting doesn't create anxiety because you sense that movement is already underway. Even uncertainty feels manageable. You know you'll adapt because you already have. Externally, there may be small confirmations. People respond differently, doors open without effort, support appears where resistance used to be, but these aren't what convince you. The certainty comes from within. If you feel steady rather than hopeful, clear rather than excited, you're not approaching the reversal, you're standing in it. Some shifts only move in one direction. Once the balance corrects itself, it doesn't return to what it was before. This isn't because of force or intention, It's because the conditions that supported the old state no longer exist. When awareness changes, it can't be undone. You may sense this finality through stability. There's less volatility in your emotions and fewer swings in circumstance. Even when challenges appear, they don't threaten your footing. You adapt without losing ground. That's a sign you've crossed a threshold. This phase often brings clarity about what you will no longer tolerate, not from anger, but from understanding. You see patterns clearly now, and that awareness naturally sets boundaries. There's no need to enforce them loudly, they're simply there. For chosen ones, this one-way shift can feel relieving. The fear of regression fades. You stop bracing for collapse because you recognize how solid the foundation has become. Growth feels integrated, not temporary. When a door closes permanently, it's not dramatic. It's quiet certainty, and once you feel it, there's no going back to how things were before. With any reversal comes responsibility, and it's quieter than people expect. There's no announcement, no instruction manual, just a clear awareness that how you move now matters more. You're no longer reacting to pressure, you're influencing direction. That shift requires restraint, not display. You may notice that your words carry more weight. Small decisions have broader effects. This isn't a call to assert dominance or prove anything. It's an invitation to move with intention. Awareness replaces impulse. You choose when to speak, when to act, and when to let things unfold without interference. Ego can be tempting here, especially after being underestimated, but true positioning doesn't need reinforcement. The more grounded you remain, the more stable the shift becomes. Power held quietly lasts longer than power announced. This responsibility also means choosing peace over control. Not everything needs your involvement anymore. Discernment becomes essential, knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Walking away is no longer avoidance, it's wisdom. When you carry the shift responsibly, it protects you. The reversal doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes how you move through them, with clarity, steadiness, and purpose. By the time everything becomes obvious, the process is already well underway. This isn't about waiting for proof or watching for signs anymore. The movement has started, and it's carrying things forward without needing your effort or permission. What once felt uncertain now feels settled, even if the details are still forming. You didn't force this outcome, you didn't demand it or chase it. You stayed consistent while circumstances adjusted around you. That steadiness mattered more than any single action. It allowed timing to line up naturally without resistance or interference. What's important now is recognition, not anticipation. Recognizing that this phase is active helps you move with it instead of questioning it. There's no need to prepare or brace yourself. The reversal is not a future event, it's a current one, unfolding step by step. This is the point where trust replaces effort. You continue forward calmly, knowing that what's shifting is aligned and stable. The noise fades, the urgency fades, what remains is clarity. If you felt a quiet certainty settling in, that's not imagination. That's awareness catching up with reality. The reversal isn't coming, it's already in motion, and it's holding. As this message comes to a close, remember this: reversals don't arrive to shake you, they arrive to place you where you were always meant to stand. What you're experiencing now is not chaos, confusion, or delay. It's clarity settling in. It's life responding to the steadiness you built when no one was watching. And even if everything hasn't fully shown itself yet, the direction is already set. If this resonated with you, it's because you're not guessing anymore, you're recognizing. Trust that quiet confidence growing inside you. Let it guide how you move forward, how you choose, and how you show up. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. Just stay aligned with what feels solid and true. If this message helped you see things more clearly, support Chosen Realms by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs it, and subscribing for more messages like this. And I'd love to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts or what part stood out most to you. Stay grounded, stay aware. The path ahead is opening and you're ready for it.